All right, here we go again. Thank you for joining us or joining me on the Naked Perception. So if you know, have to take a second and make sure all the video feed is going right. Yeah, here we go. So yeah, um, I think that Jamie is still not feeling well. I haven't heard from him or Nathan today, so I hope they're doing okay. And that kind of thing. All is well with me, and I hope that's true for everyone else. Um, so let's start with Happy Pride Month, everybody, and I hope that you guys are enjoying your time safely. This past weekend was Memorial Weekend, of course, and I had a really good time. Went on a boat with some friends, and just had a good time. Got to see some people I haven't really seen in a minute. So yeah, it was all good. So I hope you guys had a safe and happy Memorial Weekend also. What else? If you can't hear me clearly or anything like that, please let me know, because it's, as I said, it's just me and I can make some adjustments. And what else? Let's say I got a couple of birthdays. Happy birthday to my boy David Shirley. His birthday was May 30th. And my good friend Carol Lopez, her birthday was within the last week or so. So anybody else that had a birthday recently, happy birthday to you also. I guess this is Gemini month. I don't really know. I know David says he's a Gemini, so I'm assuming that this is Gemini month. So either beginning or the ending, I don't know. But happy birthday to the Geminis out there if that's your sign. And that kind of thing. So, got a lot to talk about today. I'm not doing politics. Just not going to do it. So, enough said on that. But, if Jamie were here, we'd probably talk about it a little bit. But since he's not, I'm going to skip that. Because there's really not much worth talking about anyway. Let's see. What else? A couple of... Let me see. All right, so the topic today, and I'm going to try to limit it to 45 minutes or less than an hour, so we're going to get going. The topic today is, as a man, when is it your turn to cry? Or when is it our turn to cry? And I sent the question to some people that I knew, and I got some very interesting answers, because the idea in my head is that men, especially heterosexual men, do not have the outlet that they need to deal with their actual emotions properly. Like, they can kind of discuss I've heard guys talking to their friends about how they feel, but there's never any emotions behind it. They talk about the situation and what's going to be done, but how they're actually feeling doesn't come up very often. So I started thinking about that and started thinking about all the people that I knew and all the people that I know and all the situations that I've been in and I've seen others go through. So it just kind of made me think this is something we should talk about, because I think that when men go through things and they don't deal with their emotions, it leaves scars. And those scars, either they linger and they affect your decision making throughout life, or you deal with them in ways that you probably should not deal with them. So that's what I kind of wanted to get into today. So again, the question was, do you think that as a man you have an appropriate outlet to deal with your emotions? And that, on so many levels. I've talked to guys who have been abused physically and emotionally. There's lots of abuse going on in the workplace that they don't even have an avenue or a comfortable avenue in which to discuss it. So what do you do? That's the question. how do we start dealing with that? And I think the answer is, you know, a lot of my guy friends, especially a lot of my heterosexual friends, come to me and talk to me about stuff, and they know that they can come and be open with me, and there's no judgment. I'm not gonna call them a punk or anything for feeling the way that they feel. I'm just not gonna do that. And I think that we should all get on board with that and allow people to vent and talk about their feelings, especially men, because we have them. We have feelings that need to be dealt with. We have actual emotions that we need to deal with. It's not all just, you know, brush it off, or, you know, we don't want to hear you're not being a man, or you're not allowed to cry, or, you know, you're going overboard, or anything like that. People need to just be who they are and start dealing with that. No judgment at all. That's true, Brandon. Thank you for joining me. You know, I just think this is a really huge deal. You know, I think that a lot of gay men, I can't say that don't have that same issue, but we have very similar issues. I know that when I've been in work situations where I work with women, and you know, they can be pretty harassing sexually, and at times, and you know, we laugh it off and act like it doesn't really happen, but you know, internally, it kind of bothered me a little bit, because I always think when someone does that to me, I always think, well, what is it about me, or what did I do, or what kind of message did I send to make them think that it was okay to do that? And then I thought, you know, that doesn't even matter, because you know, people should give you the respect that you give them, and if I'm conducting myself a certain way, then you should do so too. But a lot of times if you're an attractive guy, and I'm probably going to make some women mad on this, and that's okay, because you know, this is an open discussion, so if you don't like what I'm saying, let's talk about it, you know, that kind of thing. But I feel like, and I've talked to the guys about it, and a lot of them, you know, they're all attractive men, and when they've been in situations where they've had to work underneath a woman, you know, a lot of times if they don't give that woman the attention they feel like they deserve, you know, then there's a lot of problems. They get micromanaged, they get harassed, you know, every little thing they do becomes a big deal. And there's really nowhere for them to go to talk about those things, because nobody's comfortable listening to men discuss these issues. Even in domestic violence situations, you know, you hear people say, oh, he's a punk, he let his wife do this, he let his wife do that. What is the alternative? If you're in a domestic violence situation with your wife and you call the police, 9 times out of 10, the man is going to go to jail. He's not being a punk, he's just not retaliating. He's not trying to hurt her. You know, she might hit him and punch him, and he's not hitting back, because the consequences of him hitting her back are ridiculous. You know, so there's just a lot of things that as a society we need to work through and try to make things better for everybody. You know, even like the interactions with your friends, you know, like I said, I was in a work situation, and I heard the guys talking on the hallway and I listened to how they communicate with each other. You know, they'll talk about the situation, and we followed, oh man, she's just tripping, or, you know, she's overreacting, or I don't think they said the word overreacting, but basically she's just tripping. That's like the go-to response for anything. She tripping. Man, she was tripping, man. My wife was tripping last night. But, you know, then they say the problem, but how do you actually feel about that? You know, I think guys need to start getting in touch with their emotions a lot more, because it doesn't make you a punk because you're in touch with your emotions. It makes you stronger. It makes you a better person. You know, so all these little program responses that men have, you know, to avoid their emotions, all that stuff needs to stop. And I think women could do a better job of accepting that, because you want the guy to be strong and masculine and the breadwinner and all this junk, but you also want him to do what you say. So you can't have somebody be the breadwinner and the head of household and then emasculate him at the same time. Those two things don't go together. It just doesn't work. So how are we going to work that out? You know, and that's one of the big things that I hear, and I've heard that a lot today. You know, my wife wants me to make all this money and, you know, be the head of the household and deal with all the issues and the problems, but at the same time, she wants me to listen to her and do what she says, um, and it just the area just gets really confusing. So I think I was talking to a friend of mine, on my way to Florida, and he and I always have really good conversations. He's a really strong black heterosexual male, very smart, very nice looking, very intelligent, has a good job, has his degrees and stuff, and he seems to find himself in situations where, which of course he's trying to change the situation, but lately he's been working under these women that have just been giving him a really hard time. And once he started talking about it, and we've never talked about it in that depth before, but once he started talking about it, I could hear it in his voice. His whole spirit changed. Like it was just an outpour of all this stuff that he's never dealt with. An outpour of all these feelings that he's never been allowed to say out loud. And of course, he felt comfortable saying it to me, and I'm glad. But I think that a lot of men need that outlet. They need that kind of therapy. Where they can just talk to somebody or talk to each other. Even as a pastor, they need a place to go where they can actually talk about their emotions. Not just the problems, how they feel about the problems. Not just the situations. How do you feel about the situation? How has it left you emotionally? And that's what we need to get to. How are you feeling emotionally? We can easily talk about what the issue is. You can give me the list of characters and the cast of the play and tell me the action and what's going on, but at the end of the day, how do you really feel? How has that situation left you? What kind of state has it left you in? And that's what we need to get to, because we're not doing it. And it's just not working. And ladies, I think that if you take a really good look in certain situations, you realize that maybe you need a different strategy. Maybe you need to be a little more open and honest and give them an avenue where they can express themselves. And maybe they're not going to do it to you. Maybe there's nothing you can do. But gentlemen, there are places that we should have places, have situations in place where you can go and talk about stuff like that. I mean, talk about how you feel and vent. And I'm coming up with an idea after talking to my friend over the weekend, and we're going to do some good stuff, because I think that a comfortable environment might make it a little more conducive to therapy. So if we create an environment where you can play pool and have therapy while playing the game, or you can have sports on or playing spades or whatever it is that you guys like to do, you create an environment that contains those things, but you're also doing therapy at the same time. So you can just call it the gray room, whatever you want to call it, but you need a place to go where you can vent and actually get to your feelings, not just the situation. That has got to change. Because people are overreacting to small situations because they're not dealing with what's actually going on. So you get on the highway and you speed and drive crazy because you're angry because you wasn't able to get it out. Or you take your frustrations out on, a clerk at the store, or someone that steps on your shoes, or someone that cuts you off in traffic. We have all these situations that come up because you're not allowed to talk about your emotions. Who knows? Some of these shootings, these massive shootings at these places of business, maybe it could have been prevented if people had that emotional outlet. We don't know. This is a hindsight situation, but prevention is better than the cure. So maybe we need to start thinking about what we need to put in place to keep things from happening. I guess men are responsible for a lot of the things that have happened in the world and a lot of things that continue to happen. I get that. But why continue to go down that road? Why continue to ignore that population? I mean, it needs some nurturing. It needs some care. And I'm not sitting here saying, I want, men, just sit there and cry your feelings out and, dig deep, pull a Barbara Walters on you and make you cry. It's not about that. It's about you having an outlet to get it out, and that's what we need. We need an outlet. We need someone that's going to listen, actually listen, and make it okay that we said what we said. And no judgment at all. And that's the way that it should be. And I feel like we've lost that somewhere along the way. We've lost it. Balancing the physical and emotional aspects of life has become a difficult task. Because men are mostly physical. They talk about the situations and not talk about how they feel about it. And women are mostly emotional, but lately have been physical. So it's just like there's no balance anymore. So where do you go with that? What do you do with that? How do you deal with that? I haven't talked, every man that I've talked to today and this week pretty much said the same thing. There are exceptions to every rule. There are guys that don't mind being emotional and talking about how they feel and getting to the grips of their feeling. It's healthier to do that. It's less stressful. It decreases the anxiety. It might help with depression and anger management. All those things, when you deal with your emotions as they happen, all those things become smaller, not such a big deal, because you're not holding things in. You're not that kettle that's about to boil over and pop. We want to keep that from happening because we're not bottomless pits of emotion. We are human beings, and whether you're male, female, gay, straight, whatever walk of life you're going through, at the end of the day, we're all human beings, and we all feel things, and we all have our breaking point. We all have that moment where, look, I've had enough. We have that moment. If you say one more thing, something's going to happen. Because I always say, you never know, the first thing you say to somebody could be the last thing they need to hear before they snap. And you need to be careful about that. You can't just walk around saying and doing whatever you want and treating people any way that you want. A man is only going to take some, women are only going to take so much, but a man is definitely only going to take so much. You keep pushing him and pushing him and pushing him, you going up to work, you following him around, harassing him because you didn't like this and you don't like that, or you went through his phone and you saw this and that, and you just think you have the right to ruin his life because you don't like what's going on. That's not okay. There's a time and a place to do everything. There's a time and a way to handle situations. And if you choose to take that path of destruction, then you've earned every destructive thing that's thrown at you. And that's not directed at women, that's directed at whoever's doing that in a relationship. Because people are only going to take so much. And let me apologize if you hear the piano in the background, because my landlord is teaching a piano lesson, so you'll probably hear some really bad piano in the background. I wish it was some kind of nice jazzy stuff they're playing, but they haven't gotten to that level yet. So, just think about these situations while you're in them. Think about what you need from your partner or your loved one. Think about what you need in your work environment. Think about what outlets you have or don't have. If you don't have someone to talk to, find someone to talk to. Hell, you could even inbox me and we'll talk about it. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. We can talk about it. I do it all the time. Everyone needs someone to talk to. And sometimes it can be a stranger. Sometimes it could be someone, that you don't have to see again. And that's okay. But you've gotten it out. So you're talking to a therapist, or you're talking to someone's pastor that was a suggestion for you. Whatever kind of outlet you need, please utilize that. Man, I'm challenging you. Start talking. Start feeling. It actually takes a stronger man to discuss his feelings than to ignore it. It's easy to ignore stuff. You just pretend like it didn't happen. But that doesn't make it go away. Again, if you can't hear me or I'm not clear, please, send me an inbox and let me know. Ignoring problems does not make them go away. You stick it on a pile. And you may forget about that until the next problem comes, and that's on a pile. And it just keeps piling up and piling up and piling up and piling up and piling up. And pretty soon you just had enough and you pop. And you're going to beat the hell out of somebody because this problem is way down here. And you're going to add all this other stuff to it because these are things that you haven't dealt with, and when you finally do get an outlet, It's not the right kind of outlet. It's the wrong outlet. It's an outlet that's going to lead to more trouble, or someone getting hurt, or you getting hurt. And we don't want that to happen. We want you to practice venting before it's too late. We want you to practice dealing with your emotions and saying how you feel before it's too late, before you make bad decisions. All those things are important. Do not ever be afraid to ask for help. If you hang around friends that you can't talk to, are they really your friends? If you try to go to one of your homies and talk to them about a problem, and they say, man, don't stop being a punk, what you crying about? They're not your friend. And they might be your friend, but they are also not comfortable talking about things in that way. So you really want... That's another discussion that you should have. I was talking to one of my best friends today, and he and I have always had that kind of relationship, talking about anything and everything. You know, we're not being charged for every word that we say. We just talk and listen. And we're not, neither of us are trying to be more right than the other. We're just talking about whatever's going on with us. And it's a healthy outlet, and it feels really good. Because I know he's listening to me, he knows I'm listening to him, and at the end of the conversation, we feel a little bit better. You know, so it's like, stay tuned next time. Our next 2 or 3 hour conversation is going to be about this or whatever. And it feels really good. You know, he's a heterosexual male, and he needs that. A lot of people, I need that. A lot of people need that. It just so happens that I don't have friends that I can't talk to. I don't have friends that I can't cry around if I need to. I don't have friends that I can't be sad around if I feel like being sad. If I call you my friend, it's because I'm able to feel exactly how I feel at that moment, and I don't expect to hear a lot of flack about it. I expect you to accept it as I am, talk me through it, or just hug me, or, you know, just let me get past it, and everything will be fine. But if you have friends that you can't talk to or make you feel bad about expressing yourself, man, then they're not... That's something y'all need to talk about, or you need to find somebody else that you can really talk to. I can't stress it enough. It's important. It affects your relationships. It affects your interactions. It affects your decision making. You need an outlet. If you think that you don't, you're wrong. If you think that you can handle stuff without dealing with your emotions behind it, you're absolutely wrong. And because nothing's happened yet, doesn't mean it's not coming. Because you've been ignoring your emotions, and you've been in a marriage or relationship for years and nothing's happened. Doesn't mean nothing's going to happen. So we definitely want to start dealing with things. See what else. You know, I like that, balancing the physical and emotional aspects of situations, because we don't think along those terms, and we need to start thinking outside the box in a different manner. We need to look at our everyday situations and our everyday interactions realistically and honestly, and think about what we're going through and how we can fix it. How can you and I communicate better and us be emotionally healthy as well as being physically healthy? What do we need to do to change that? How do I get you to actually deal with the truth without putting your emotions into it? And as opposed to me saying what you want to hear, just to keep from having an argument. How can we avoid things like that? How do I get to a place where I can say in a respectful manner what I need to say to you, and you hear me without getting so emotional that you don't hear me, that turns into some kind of verbal abuse on me? You know, what do we have to do to keep those situations from happening? All that's important. Lately, the main thing that I've been hearing from people at work and just in general is anxiety. People's anxiety is really high right now. Anxiety is a really big deal, and I just don't feel like people are dealing with things like they should. Every now and then you have to stop, take a deep breath, and let it out slow. And then once you let that air out, look at what's going on with you. And look at it with new eyes, because the old way of looking at things wasn't working. You need an outlet. You need a place to vent. You need someone to whom you can talk. You need all those things. All those things are important. I cannot stress it enough. Pretend happiness is not happiness. Fake happiness is not happiness. Pretending in public that everything is okay with you when you get home and it's not real. It doesn't work. Everybody can put on a brave face. What's that Lady Gaga song? Is it Poker Face or something like that? Yeah, Poker Face. We all have a poker face. We don't want a poker face. Well, every now and then we need one. But we don't want the poker face to hide some deep feelings that we've been having. We don't want the poker face to get us in the habit of ignoring how we're really feeling. Yeah, we can get in situations. I can be like, okay, yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. Oh yeah, I'm good. I'm good. No problem. Fine. I'm fine. I'm good. It didn't even bother me. I'm good. I'm fine. You know. Oh no, I don't. Really, I don't want to talk about it. I'm good. I'm good. You know, just it's good. We're good. Don't worry about it. You know, we can do that. It doesn't work, because every time I've said that, every time I say that, by the time I'm finished it, I'm feeling worse. And yes, I might be able to escape the situation, escape you, sneak out the door, hop into my car, and feeling horrible on the way home if I don't feel comfortable talking to you about the situation. I don't have that problem. But a lot of people do. And if you're one of those people, you need to start today. Your moving forward point is starting to deal with your emotions. Starting to express yourself emotionally to the people with whom you spend the most time. It's important. If you're in a situation, or you're married, or you have a girlfriend, it's time to talk. And you talk without the cussing, and without the humiliation and the degradation. You don't want any of that. I told someone last week, he said that, you know, he's been with this girl for a long time, and, you know, she's been helping him out. You know, they helped each other get an apartment. You know, they've been doing a lot of good things for each other. They're moving in a good direction. But every now and then when they get into arguments, she puts him down, she cusses him out, and just makes him feel horrible. And his depression and anxiety goes up so high when those things happen, because he can't do anything, he doesn't feel comfortable, or maybe he doesn't even know how, or didn't at that point, to deal with that situation. So I told him point blank, I said, whenever she speaks to you like that, don't even respond with, if you really love me, you wouldn't speak to me like that. And don't say anything else. Every time she says something off the way to you, if you really love me, you wouldn't talk to me like that. We'd be able to discuss this situation without all this extra. And I told him to say that. Did it work? I don't know. It works for me. I don't know how many other people have tried that, but you're not going to sit there and tell me that you love me and cuss me out at the same time, or call me names and put me down. You can't tell me that you love me followed by all that. It's no such thing as I love you, but. We don't do that. Those days are over. You know, we went through COVID, we went through isolation, and we're still going through it. So the time out for all that petty bullshit is over. All that extra bullshit that people want to put in your life is over. 2021, keep your plate light. Do not sweat the small stuff. And I know I made that book a long time ago, but it's true. Don't sweat it. You analyze the people that are in your life and figure out the effect that they're having on you, and take an honest look at it. Because you might have to do some rearranging. You might have to put some people by the wayside. You might have to do that. And people don't want to hear the truth, because once you hear the truth, you have to face yourself. And people don't want to face themselves. Like when people ask me to do certain things, especially spiritually, my first question is, do you want the truth of what I really see, or do you want something that's going to make you feel better? Because I could do it either way. If you just want me to make you feel better, look, oh yeah, life is beautiful. You can have licorice and lollipops and hold hands skipping around the lake, and goldfish are going to be popping out the pond, babies going to come up, you can feed her out of your hand. All those things are going to happen. Mary Poppins going to fly down from the sky in her big old fancy umbrella, and you're all going to sing supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, and everything's going to be great. You know, I can bullshit you. You can bullshit yourself better. And that's what we need to stop doing. If you are not dealing with your emotions, then you're bullshitting yourself. If you're not being honest with the people in your life, then you're bullshitting yourself. You're also bullshitting them, but it only affects you. It affects you and how you want things to be, because it's just not real otherwise. If you're not being truthful, it's not real. Holding on to things that don't bring you joy or more joy, it's just unnecessary. You have to talk about it and change the dynamics of the situation in order for things to get better. You can't just let it stay the same and think that everything is going to be okay, just because that's how life works. Life doesn't work that way. Every reaction is a reaction. So whenever you do something, there's a side effect of what you do, depending on how you deliver it. So if you tell the truth about how you feel, maybe things will get better. But if you continue to feel horrible and betrayed and, just afraid all the time, afraid to leave the house, afraid to reach out and ask for help, afraid to tell somebody what's really going on, afraid to tell somebody how you really feel, then it's a problem. I can't tell you how many people I've spoken to over the past few centuries that just were afraid to rock the boat. I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to cause any problems. I'm not going to bring that up because we've talked about it and it's the past. Has anything changed? Because maybe it requires revisiting. Maybe you need to revisit the situation because the situation hasn't changed. So the idea is that we want to feel better about ourselves and all these scars that we have, because everything that we go through in a negative leaves a scar. And the more we say it doesn't bother us, the more we say I'm not bothered by it, the bigger the scar. And it's time that we start facing that. Men, it's time. It just is. There's no other way around it. It's time for you to start dealing with your emotions, dealing with your past, and find your moving forward point. Your moving forward point means that you're ready to start facing things and make some changes. That's the moving forward point. So please keep the things that I've said in mind. And I didn't have a big live audience. Thank you, Brandon, for your comments and tuning in. Some of you haven't seen it in a minute, so I know we've been kind of off and on with the show, but I'm back on track. If I'm doing it by myself, I'm back on track. Hopefully my other guys will be able to join me soon, but if not, the show must go on. I really hope that you've gotten something out of what I've said tonight, because it's important. And I'm going to keep you updated on the situation I was talking about, because I'm going to create the Grey Room. It's going to be, maybe Vincent's Grey Room. Probably use my middle name for that. But I do have this vision of men coming in, playing spades, watching the game, playing pool or whatever, sitting at the bar, and having real conversations. having group therapy every week so you can have these vent sessions and get it out. Practicing discussing your emotions and not just the situation. Practicing how you're feeling about situations. All those things. That's the idea that I have. And you know what? If you have the resources and the money to run with that idea, I'm not even hating on you. Do that, because that's what we need. Give me a little credit. But do that, because we need that. Men need that. Men need that outlet. It's not just... I know when I was growing up, my dad went to this place called the Apollo Club, and it's different now. So if you're in Pensacola and you see the Apollo Club, it's not like it is now, I don't think. But back in the day, it was a men's club, and I'm hoping that maybe that's some of the things that they did there, but that's the idea I have in my head. If they didn't do that kind of stuff then, and I don't know, because I was never there, but that's something that men need. Men need an outlet. And I'm not talking about anything inappropriate. I'm talking about an actual therapeutic atmosphere where they can go and just talk about their feelings. We have counselors on duty, you have group sessions and just all these things that we can get it out because it's important. And men, if you disagree with what I'm saying, that's okay. But before you disagree with me, I want you to take a deep, hard look inside yourself and think about how much you've ignored or how much you've pretended that these things don't bother you. How many things you let go by the wayside pretending like it didn't matter, and then you've overreacted to something later on. How many people have actually hurt you and you pretended like it didn't happen? Even better yet, how many times have you actually cried when you're by yourself and nobody knew? Think about that. Think about that. It's important that you have someone to talk to. So, with that being said, thank you for joining me tonight. And I saw people popping in and out. And I hope you go back and watch this later. If you have any questions, definitely inbox me. This show will be on YouTube very soon, probably within the next day or so, if not tonight. And it'll also be on TikTok. So I'm loading stuff up to that too. So until next time, thank you for tuning in. Hopefully Nathan and Jamie will be with me in the next podcast. But if not, as I said, the show must go on. And always, if you have any questions or any topics that you want to discuss, please inbox me. Let me know, because we can talk about anything. Just let me know, and we'll make it happen. So thank you for joining us on The Naked Perception, and have a nice evening.